now we move on to Mr. Zion Williamson, who I believe is a friend of the channel. Um, Zion has, up to this point, had a disappointing career, juxtaposed to expectations. Mr. Williamson, who once again is not playing in very many games this season, that's just become an expectation for this guy, is that he's just not going to play a whole lot of basketball,
Mm-hmm.
despite the fact that he is a professional basketball player. He has been suspended by the New Orleans Pelicans. Well, this already happened, but he was suspended one game by the Pelicans for conduct detrimental to the team. Apparently, he had been showing up late to team practices, and he held up a team flight because he was late to it. So the organization had enough, and they decided to suspend him for a game. So this says Pelicans suspend Zion Williamson after he was reportedly late to team flight to Philadelphia. New Orleans Pelicans forward Zion Williamson has been suspended by the team for one game for violating team policies. Williamson will miss Friday night's matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers as a result of the suspension. Williamson's punishment reportedly came as a result of the 24-year-old forward showing up late to the team's flight to Philadelphia on Thursday. The Pelicans announced the suspension on Friday, but did not clarify the specific violation. David Griffin, executive vice president of basketball operations, said in a statement that Williamson's suspension is a result of failing to meet our team standards. In a statement, Williamson said he takes full responsibility for this suspension. I've worked extremely hard in rehab to get healthy to deliver for this team. There is no excuse for being late to team activities, Williamson said. I can and will be better as a teammate and member of this organization. Williamson has reportedly been late for multiple practices, per ESPN reporter Chris Haynes, a pattern of behavior that led the organization to suspend him. Williamson returned to the court on Tuesday after a 27-game absence because of a hamstring injury, finishing with 22 points and a few highlight-worthy dunks in a loss to the Timberwolves. The forward has only played in 7 of the Pelicans' 37 games this season. Williamson also missed New Orleans' game against the Portland Trailblazers on Wednesday, with the team opting to keep him out of the back-to-back while he is still reconditioning. So, there you go, man. Another chapter in the dysfunctional book of Zion as a pro. He was suspended for a game because of chronic tardiness. And he's only played in 7 out of 37 games because of a hamstring injury. And they're giving him the Joel Embiid treatment of not playing in back-to-backs because he is still, quote-unquote, reconditioning. What do you make of this latest development involving Mr. Williamson?
I really don't understand with these modern athletes, bro. The amount of injuries that go on, and it's not all these guys, man. And I think that these injuries are more or less mental injuries than physical injuries. That yes, for some of these guys where it's the soft tissue stuff, lower back injury, contusion is a new thing I'm seeing out there, like a leg contusion. What the hell is that? A bruise? You saying that for a bruise? And other things. These guys are just finding any excuse to sit out. No different than when you were in school, people was finding any excuse to not come to school. It's the same thing, And then there was those people that no matter what, they came to class. And then there's those people that are like, very indifferent. And what's going on right now is that these guys with this guaranteed money, there's a lot of guys in the league right now that are just indifferent to playing. In the days of modern medicines, chambers, ice baths, you know what I'm saying? Knee scopes where they can literally play again in, the matter of weeks. So advanced surgery techniques. You tear your Achilles, You know what I'm saying? Just go to France or Spain or wherever the hell Kobe went, and you're back in the game in less than a year. You know, but these dudes here, man, they find any excuse in the book to not show up. Not playing back to backs, unless you have no cartilage in your knees. I don't think there's a reason to do that. Tim Hardaway, I don't have his jersey hanging up right now, but when Tim Hardaway, his latter years of playing in the league, man, I mean, it was bone on bone for that guy. And Pat Riley was gonna run him through the damn ground anyway.
Yeah, Tim and Patrick Ewing, they
Yeah,
both would have both knees wrapped the whole game.
yeah,
The biggest knee pads.
I'm
Patrick
telling you,
Ewing and Tim Hardaway, bro, and they played every game.
they played every game. You know what I'm saying? But towards the end, Tim, he would like be like limited in the back to back or something like that, but he would still play. These guys here don't feel the need to play. They find any excuse in the book to sit out, and I'm over it. But as I mentioned, it's not every dude in the league, man. There's guys out there that play. Their list of questionable, they go play anyway. And I love those dudes. But the overwhelming majority, I would say, have this mentality here that Zion's got, where basically like skipping practice, being late to things, it's an overall mentality that he has. It's an approach and how he feels about his profession. And so if he's showing up late to stuff or not showing up at all, that's how he feels about playing games. So he's going to not want to play at all, show up when he wants to, and all this other type of stuff. So, I just think it's a sign of the times. I don't want to put it on all of these young people because there are young people out there that go play no matter what. SGA is a great example of that. He plays through whatever. He's always playing. Cade Cunningham always plays. He plays through whatever. Amongst others. So it's not just because they're young they're doing this. I think it's a sign of the times, and that there was a mental virus that has gotten spread in the NBA where these guys just feel like they can just do whatever and get away with it because honestly they have. And so the guys that were going to do that are doing it. And the guys that don't feel that way ain't. And Zion is definitely one of those guys, with this new way of thinking of, hey man, I'm just here and I got the money. I'm making everything I need to have. I guess I'll go play basketball. It's awful, dude. So, yeah, man. You want these guys to get paid. You're happy for them for making it to the league, but at the same time, if they're going to treat such a gift like this, like a lump of coal, they can kiss my ass, man. To be honest with you, bro, I don't like it. Yeah. But what are your thoughts, bro, on Zion Williamson just being late to stuff, not showing up to things, therefore getting suspended for a game? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, I feel where you're coming from. I was watching First Things First one day a few weeks ago, and Nick Wright was talking about how he's afraid for the NBA because, it was always his favorite league to look forward to, but he realized this year that he wasn't even excited for opening night or the opening week. He was like not even really excited about it. And so he's been talking lately about the threats that the NBA is facing, and why the ratings are declining and why the general dialogue of the NBA is the way it is. And one of the things that he referenced, and I do agree with this, is in addition to the imbalance in the way that the game is played, with the, I don't want to get into the weeds with complaining about the three ball. I'll just say that I think the league, in terms of the way that it's played right now, there's a lack of balance. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to just blame threes outright, but I do think that the way it's played is out of balance. And he said that in addition to the lack of balance because of the proliferation of the three ball, there's also a larger behavioral observation within the NBA of players not upholding the mantle of professionalism.
Right.
the way players used to.
Right.
So so you use the word mindset, and it's a mentality and approach of what professionalism means in terms of how you think about that and how that translates to the way that you approach doing your job, which in this case is playing basketball. And a lot of players today, due to various factors, in my opinion, don't necessarily view the concept of professionalism as something to be taken seriously. They kind of feel like it is what it is. It's no big deal. And I do think player empowerment has something to do with that. When you have been told at this point for, I think, 10 years or 15, it's been at least 10, 15 years now, the player empowerment movement in the NBA, LeBron started it, but at least LeBron earned it. But he did start it where, you can get a max contract and be paid and receive all of these different kinds of amenities, and you're still being done wrong by the franchise, and you're still underpaid, and you're still being mistreated by the owner and the GM and the team. So you're getting all of this, yet you're still undervalued and not getting paid enough and not being treated well enough. So now we need to give them more and give them more and give them more and give them more because they deserve more, even though oftentimes they don't. This whole player empowerment thing has spoiled a lot of these players.
Yep.
And it has imparted them with this idea that professionalism, when it comes to approaching their craft, isn't something that they should take seriously. And I think Zion is a byproduct of that. Couple that with his decision making, his questionable decision making, and you have what amounts to someone who does not achieve nearly what he was expected to achieve, given where he was when he was drafted and what he was projected to do. And it might seem trivial to bring this up, but you and I and all of our friends used to talk like this in high school. Back in high school, we used to say, the way that you live life is the way that you play basketball. So the way that you live your life is a microcosm of how you play the game. So, you can pretty much glean why a person's game is constructed the way it is if you know them personally and know what they got going on in their life. So we used to know guys who made erratic decisions in their personal lives. And when we get on the court and we hoop with them, they're doing erratic things on the court.
Crazy.
Taking crazy, ill-advised shots, throwing the ball out of bounds, turning it over, trying to dribble through traffic when they don't have a handle, trying to take shots with a hand in their face when they should pass it up because they're not open. They would do stuff like that. And it's like when you hang out with this dude and you see how he does things in his you realize, oh, okay, I see how you play like that.
Right.
Because you live like a wild person in your own life. And so, we've talked about Zion on a personal level on this channel in the past, and we've seen how he conducts his personal life. And it's a very undisciplined way to conduct a personal life.
Yeah, it is.
And you can get mad at me all you want to for bringing this up, but there is a correlation between the way a man conducts his decision making personally and how he might approach professionalism when it comes to his professionalism. So you're running around getting strippers pregnant, and you're getting your business aired out on Front Street publicly by adult film actresses who are showing receipts of the payments you're sending them on a monthly basis, $25,000 here, $100,000 there per month, just completely embarrassing you publicly. It's no wonder that his approach to professionalism is just as disjointed as his approach to women. And I'm not trying to blame women. This is not a women thing. I'm using his approach to women as an example of the way his decision making is disjointed and chaotic, and how that correlates to his decision making as a professional. When you look at professionals who conduct themselves in a professional manner, it doesn't matter. We can be talking basketball. We can be talking engineering. It doesn't matter what the industry is. A person who is professional in their job and their craft is also diligent and discreet in how they conduct themselves personally. These things go hand in hand. There's a correlation. And so it's no wonder that Zion can't get himself in good conditioning. It's no wonder he can't get on the court. It's no wonder he can't figure out a way to stop being injured. Like, there's no genetic predisposition to hamstring injuries. Like, he just keeps getting hurt. And he keeps finding himself missing games year after year. You think that that's an isolated incident? Because a person who lives a chaotic life outside of the way he plays is going to bring that chaos into the way that he does play. So I'm pretty much, 90%, 10%, he's never going to figure it out versus he will. Like, I've almost given up on the guy. Almost. Now, I hold out hope because the side of optimism in me hopes that an individual in his position who has the world as his oyster can somehow figure it out. But at this point, there's enough evidence to suggest that he may not be able to get out of his own way. And he isn't the only one. If you are an undisciplined human, you're going to approach the way that you do your job in a similar undisciplined fashion. And that's just a referendum on people's need to be disciplined and to understand that there is a correlation. These aren't isolated incidents. It is not beyond the pale for me to bring up his decision-making when it comes to women as a way to sort of explain in a case study fashion why his playing career has been the way that it's been thus far. They're not isolated. These things are correlated. I won't argue causation, but I will certainly argue correlation. So I'm 90-10 on him at this point. Maybe the 10% can prove to, maybe that slim 10% in my eyes can come through for him, but I'm looking at that 90% that this is going to be what he is for the rest of his career as the likely scenario. And I think it's a shame.
Yeah, man. And I think I brought this up before, but it's kind of like the Ben Simmons situation in a sense that we've seen guys not take their opportunity seriously before in the past eras and stuff, but it seems to be more prevalent now, and it's also crossed over into the stars, if you will. People could have said Allen Iverson didn't take basketball seriously, and honestly, he said that himself. Even at the height of him scoring 30 a game or whatever, he still wasn't a professional yet, in his own eyes. And, it just took, years of him being in the league and bumping his head to go, hey, man, I need to be a pro about what I'm doing. And even then, he still had habits, at least in his game, that were still remnants of him when he was playing like a knucklehead, even though Iverson's my favorite player. I'm not calling him a knucklehead. But, you got to be a team player. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, you saw bits and pieces of that in the old era, but no one can question how hard Iverson played or his love of the game.
Or his availability.
Because
correct. He was still in every game.
Correct. No matter what. And you talk about bodies hitting the floor and slamming, he would hit the ground every game. So it had nothing to do with, whatever. He was a little guy. He listed at 6'1", that's on a great, that's what if he's wearing, 2-inch platforms.
Right. Yeah.
So Iverson was to me, one of those people that kind of more or less embodied the new era, whatever, but he still had that toughness about him. And as you mentioned, that part of him that always wanted to play. But, I haven't seen a person that's considered a star, just quit until Ben Simmons. If somebody remembers somebody before that, please let me know. But Ben Simmons is like the prime example of just quitting. He just don't want to play basketball anymore. Zion, I think Zion likes basketball more than Ben Simmons do. but at the same time, he's got this thing of where he can just get away with it. If you made Zion play, he would play. If you make Ben Simmons play, he's not going to play. He doesn't like basketball. Ben Simmons hates basketball. I'm convinced. So Zion would play if you force him. But you shouldn't have to do that, A. And B, it's a situation where, you know, the little bit of hope that I do have for this guy, I'm not going to hold my breath on it. You said 90%. I guess that's fair. You know, I push more 95% of he ain't going to get it right. I just don't think he cares enough. And with these guaranteed contracts floating around there, and he can play as much PS5 and you know, have as many OF models on deck as he wants. I think that's going to take precedent over playing basketball. And so, yeah, this is the first generation of athletes that were so talented, but don't give a damn. And, you know, you drop Zion on the floor, splash him on the court, he's going to do things. I mean, he puts up numbers. The guy can play. He's talented, but he doesn't care. And so, yeah, I think it's an overall mentality of what's going on in the league. Again, I don't want to put it all on these young dudes. I think it's just an evolution of like how you meant, like you said, of with the player empowerment stuff. Not all dudes are taking advantage of it to the point where they're like spoiled brats. But there's always going to be that. There's going to be the people that are grateful for their opportunity, and there's going to be the people out there that feels entitled to it. And Zion is one of those players that feel entitled to it. And that's why I don't hitch my wagon to any of these dudes. You know, I like the guys that go out there and play no matter what. And so, yeah, man. So sorry, Zion. You know, I can't stand behind this stuff. I was rooting for the guy. I did have my questions. You know, when he first got into the league, because you know it's kind of written all over him. But I was hoping that he would push through that. But nah, it is what it is with him. And this looks like his new thing. So people saying that he needs a change of environment. We'll see. You know, and you know, I just really feel like if he went somewhere else, he'll go hard for a season to prove haters wrong, and he'll be right back at it because he overall doesn't give a damn.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it is what it is, man. It sucks to see talent like this go to waste. But hey, man, it's a new day and age.
Oh, yeah. He signed a 5-year, $197,230,450 contract. That's the money that he's making.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it's just he's making an absurd amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He missed 53 games in 2022-23. He's made a lot of money. Put it that way. In the 2019-20 season, he only played 24 games out of 82. The next season after that, 2020-2021, he played 61 out of 82. Then 2022-23, he only played 29 out of 82. Then last year, he had a resurgence. He played 70 games, much to his credit, but then he got hurt in the playoffs. So, you know, you play a lot of games and then you get hurt at the worst time. He got hurt in the playoffs. And so far this year, he has played 8 games. And, you know, he has a $200 million contract. Talk about not recouping on your investment. That would really drive me up a wall. And despite those being the facts, you will still have a lot of these idiots on these opinion shows talk about how valuable he is. And they'll talk about how much he deserves this, that, and the third. That's what I'm saying. The dialogue surrounding the NBA has really contributed to its decline. There's no accountability. Players are just doing whatever they want, acting however they want, approaching professionalism however they want. And the journalism aspect of the sport, which is supposed to be a part of holding the sport accountable, is just defending them on it at every turn. Every player is underpaid. Every player is mistreated. Every player is not treated well by the franchise. Every player is done wrong by the front office. This guy doesn't have enough help. This guy doesn't have the right coach. This guy doesn't have this. This guy doesn't have that. Blah blah blah. Up and down. These players are coddled constantly, and you don't hear that kind of dialogue as much with these other sports. And I follow this stuff all the time. I don't hear it as much. I seem to singularly hear it more with the NBA than everywhere else.
Yep.
And I don't get it. If in the NFL, when a receiver becomes a malcontent, no one's looking at the organization for the most part. They're saying the receiver has a problem, and the franchise probably needs to trade that guy.
Right.
But when it's an NBA player, we're looking at the coach. Does the coach need to get fired? Is it the GM? Is the owner messing it up? Is the owner a racist? What's going? Are they not doing a good enough job to surround him with good parts? It's all of this garbage. So, he's been a beneficiary of this to a certain degree, but more so than anything else, his problem is himself. He is not a professional. He's a professional basketball player in name, but he is not a professional, and he doesn't approach his craft with professionalism. And this is what you get as a result of that. And there is a correlation between his approach to professionalism and his approach to his life in general. And if he can clean up one of those, he'll probably be able to clean up the other. But usually people are who they are, and they can't figure out a way to clean it up.
Yeah, man. He's a rich kid. That's all I see. For some reason, man, even with the facial hair, all the weight and all this other stuff, man. I mean, he still carries himself like a high school person to me.
Yeah.
And he just looks like, hey, man, what are you gonna give a high schooler, $100-200 million, and watch how they act. And that's been Zion. At some point, this young man is gonna have to grow up. So, yeah, he's I don't know how old he is now, but he's been in the league for what, 5 years now?
He's been around for a minute, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So
not that I ever gave these guys the age. You know how I feel. I don't give them the age.
Yeah.
But even with that, he's 24. So
yeah, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was 24, man, I had some movement going on in my brain. So you gotta tighten up, man. This is inexcusable. But what are you gonna do, man? These guys don't love basketball, bro. This is a generation. I would say it's a split, because again, there's guys I watch that I could tell they clearly love basketball, and then there's an overwhelming majority of these kind of guys. And so yeah, man, it sucks, dude. It really does.
Anthony Edwards, he's another one who plays. Mm-hmm. He plays every game. I remember Anthony Edwards, he was talking to the media one time. They asked him about load management, and he was like, "That's dumb to me. Like, I don't feel bad. I'm not aching. I'm not hurt. I'm a basketball player."
You're playing basketball.
Yeah, he's like, I don't understand. That's stupid to me. I'm gonna just go out and play basketball. Like, so he gets it. And he's a young guy. That's like, this stuff is not age; it's a maturity factor.
Yeah,
and it's your approach to professionalism. So I don't care about the age, and no. I don't give these guys the age card. I don't. And by the way, with great power does come great responsibility. If you're being paid $200 million, you have a responsibility to be a professional, regardless of what your age is. You need to figure that shit out.
I agree.
It's no excuses, bro. You're getting paid $200, so you get to just enjoy the lamps of luxury by getting paid $200 million, but not be responsible for being a professional. It don't work like that.
Well, and last thing I'll say is that, and guys like KG and others who came into the league straight out of high school or whatever, they would always credit the veterans in the locker room for keeping them in line, showing them how to be a professional, showing them the ropes when they go to the club, avoid those kinds of women, all of that stuff. And these young guys don't have that. When you're a 19-year-old and you get $100 million, and the vet on your team is 25. I mean, the whole league then went wayward, man. Yeah. So yeah, man. So when these guys don't have no vets to look up to show them the way, to show them how to be a pro and to be a man, they grow up to be $100 million children.
Yeah.
And so we got a lot of that going on. So yeah, man, it's really crazy to watch, and therefore you're getting a crazy product. So something's going to have to give. Don't know what they're going to have to do because there's so many issues at this point. But if they continue down this way, the league is going to return how it was before Magic and Bird got there.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I hope he figures it out, man. I really do. But yeah, he just needs to learn how to be a professional. And right now, he don't got the keys.
You got the keys.
It's wild.